Hello, comrades, and welcome back to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. My name, of course, is Orbital Potato. Now, things look very, very, very different indeed, and that is because I am doing a patch analysis of the latest release to drop on the public beta test. So, this is the winter update that adds a whole bunch of brand new features, including seasons, heating, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff that we are going to be talking about. I'm basically just going to detail all of the changes. A couple of words before we get started. All of these changes should be compatible with your current saves of the game, with the exception of a few bits and bobs, like the heating system, which we're about to talk about, which you may have to start a brand new playthrough in order to get access to. Right, so what I've done is I've mocked up a false Potatograd over here that's got a bunch of buildings that I want to show off in sequence. The first thing that we've got to talk about is the brand new way that the world looks. So we are currently on the 28th of September 1980, and things look very autumnal. They look very brown, they look very orange, they look very, they look very faded colors of a wonderful summer that once was. Now, this, of course, is, just one of the seasons, and perhaps the most interesting season that is now in the game is winter, and winter brings with it a whole bunch of complications. So, before it turns very, very, very cold, why don't we talk about temperature? Now, it is currently 14 degrees Celsius out in the wild, and in order to make sure that all of your glorious citizens are able to stay warm in their houses, there's been a brand new heating system added. So each and every house has got now a water tank, and each of these water tanks has got a temperature. So, for example, this old city townhouse here has got a water tank of 9 meters cubed, which is something to consider because your heating system, that's right, the heating system has got a couple of brand new bespoke buildings, such as the small heating plant. There is also the heating pumping station, as well as the large heating plant, which we've got over here. Anyway, each of these plants has got a water tank which is heated at up to 90 degrees Celsius. The colder that it gets, the colder the water tank goes. So, in the summer, the water tank will be hotter, and in the winter, it will be colder because you have to supply water to a bunch of these houses. Now, in order to supply water to houses, you have been equipped with some brilliant pipes. So, there's the small heating pipe, and there's the large heating pipe. The large heating pipe can transport more liquid, and it looks rather like this. You can actually see where the large pipes go. If you have a little look on the large heating plant, you can see that 4 little swirly lines is a input for a large heating pipe, and then small heating pipe is just 2 little swirly lines. So there you go. It can be a little bit confusing because at the moment you can actually build large heating pipes from a small heating output. However, I believe that will be changed because that is indeed, I believe, a bug. But anyway, it's pretty darn cool. You're able to pipe your hot water around. So we're pumping it into a pumping station at this moment in time, and then we're pumping it all the way across the map to a heat exchanger. And in fact, there are 2 varieties of heat exchanger which you can utilize. There's the large heat exchanger, which distributes 300 meters cubes of water, and then the small heat exchanger, which distributes 100 meters cubes of water. And each of these heat exchangers has got a area of effect, not unlike a power substation, and it's worth considering that these heat exchangers do actually require power to function, so you will need to make sure that there is an electric substation somewhere in proximity to the heat exchanger. Now, notably, the heat exchanger and the small heat exchanger do not require people to work in them, so the distribution of water happens automatically to all of the houses within range. Each house, depending on size, requires a different amount of hot water, so that's something to consider. You'll also need to consider that the small heating plant requires a workforce. It doesn't require a large workforce, but it requires 7 people, and the large heating plant requires 30 people, and both of these plants will require, as an input, refined coal. So it's probably worth, you know, seeing if you can stick an aggregate storage just outside the plant and have it linked up with a conveyor, which is the only input that is available to the small heating plant. In fact, I don't even know what the large heating plant has, but we can have a little look here. Yeah, it's just got another conveyor at the right-hand side as entry. So pretty darn cool, right? Pretty darn cool. I like it a lot. The large heating plant provides 210 gigajoules of heat. The small heating plant, only 42 gigajoules of heat, although, again, different levels of consumption across different plants. Either way, I actually think it's really, really cool. It's another level of sort of micromanagement that you need to add to your city. But who said ruling a glorious Soviet Republic was ever easy? And you know what? Whilst we're on the topic of micromanagement, we should talk about one of the best features, in my humble opinion, that has been added to the game in this update. It's the clone tool, and it actually allows us to just drag a box around any area that we see fit, and literally just copy and paste it to a different location on the map. I've got fast build on here, but you know, how absolutely incredible is that? It is a true godsend that we're now able to do this. And you know what? We wanna copy this highly complex setup. No problem whatsoever. Boom, just as easy as that, we're able to plonk it all down just like so. So very, very, very cool indeed. I like it a lot. It's a brilliant brand new feature. Okay, so after we're done with that, we should probably talk about my personal favorite change. If you watched the ridiculously long Workers and Resources Soviet Republic series I did, you will have seen me just occasionally complaining about trains and the fact that they don't work the way that I want them to. Now, unfortunately, the trains have just zipped off to the other end of the universe because they have, and this is really gonna mess with my example that I was going to set up. However, I guess we can talk about the fact that trains are now ridiculously long. That's right. So, one of the brand new things that have been added is a long train depot. I've just got trash in here from experimenting. But if I buy a brand new train, you can now see that carriages go off the end, and you can actually scroll all the way to the end, and you can have up to, I believe, I don't actually know if it's a number, but I think it's a length, so you can have up to a certain length train, and all of these trains that we've got here are the longest ones. So I've just had them sort of scooting around and seeing what the heck is going on. Now, why on earth have you managed to get stuck here? Because that is a bit of a bummer and doesn't really help with me showing what I want to show off. However, it does help me show off this. So now signals have been visualized in a way that is not super inconvenient to see. And actually, hold up, something has just happened, which is utterly fantastic. Right, so first of all, there's the visualization of all of the different blocks. So previously, if there was a train in a block, for example, this big blue block here, no other trains would be able to enter this blue block. Now, we could, of course, change the way that the block operates by using perhaps a chain signal, as we've got over here, which allows 2 trains to get into the station at the same time. But basically, for all intents and purposes, if a block had a train in it, then you wouldn't be able to pass another train through it. And that is now visualized, as you can see, with different colors. We've got purple, we've got blue, we've got orange, each and every one representing a different block. However, what we have just seen is a true miracle. So, previously you had red signals, you had green signals, and you also had blue signals. The chain signal would turn blue when there was one train occupying a slot in one of the chain signals down down the line. Now, however, there's been a brand new signal added, and that is a white signal. And this white signal basically says to the train, hey, you're allowed to enter the block, because even though there is another train still occupying the same block, you're not going to collide with that train. That's right, trains can now pass through the same blocks as other trains, as long as they're not going to be able to collide. That is such a phenomenal game changer that it doesn't even... I can't even explain to you, dear viewer, how unbelievably insane that is. And honestly, that's why it's so high up on my list, because it is so darned important. So look, this white signal is literally fantastic. And so that is just going to allow the train to pass right through, even though 3 of these carriages are still sticking into the block. Obviously, long trains, super exciting, and I'm ridiculously excited to experiment with them and make full use of them. But look, that is so fantastic, and the fact that now we can visualize blocks and see exactly what the heck is happening is really nice. Okay, so whilst we're on the topic of trains, we might as well scoot back on over to here and see what the situation is in this area right over yonder. Right, so vehicle production lines and also railway production lines. I haven't built a railway production line, but I hope you'll forgive me for that. They now have a production queue. Now, what I should probably do is I should probably turn off the cheat functionality, which allows me to speed up vehicle production, because it's not going to help. I'm also going to go into here, this building, and I'm going to sell all the vehicles very quickly so that we can start producing some vehicles. Excellent. Okay. So, vehicle production lines and railway production lines now have a production queue. No longer do you have to abandon completely a vehicle just because you want to change up your vehicle production strategy. So, I'm currently building the cheapest, the cheerfulest F126R car. And instead, let's say I want to build a couple of buses. So, you know what? We'll queue up a couple of trolley buses. And just like that, we're able to make it work. Now, unfortunately, I haven't really been providing appropriate living conditions for my citizens, and instead I've just imported them en masse to work at the vehicle plant. But anyway, I hope it will serve as a good example to show exactly the power of the vehicle production line. It's really good now, and the fact that you can chain up production is truly fantastic. It really is pretty darned excellent. Okay, so if I turn back on fast building. By the way, if you want to know how to activate the cheat menu, it's changed slightly. So now you need to hold C, H, and E, and then you activate cheat mode. Then you go to the settings. The box will now tick. You can just untick it if you want to deactivate it. You can action specific objects if you click on that button and then you click on a specific building. Start a fire. You can sell all the vehicles. You can issue all of the vehicles to come home. Or indeed, you can use cheats which span across the entirety of the game. For example, starting a brand new day, I can do that, and indeed we'll be skipping forward to winter in just a second to show you exactly what that's like and all of the good stuff that comes along with that. Anyway, I thought I would increase the number of workers that were working in the vehicle production line. Still have to do that manually by importing people. And as you can see, the vehicle chain just works as it should. It's just brilliant. It's just absolutely incredible. Right, let's go back to speeding up vehicle production. It's actually really crazy how much vehicle production is sped up once you turn that cheat on. And to be honest, I don't actually hate it, because it's pretty darn good. Okay, cool. We've got 1 or 2 vehicles over there, but that is completely fine. Okay, great. Whilst we're over here, we might as well chat about some of the new structures that have been added. I believe these are all brand new buildings that have been added. There's just a couple of village houses that have been added for aesthetic purposes, and they look pretty darn good if you ask me. They're in addition to all of the ones that we already have in the game. I mean, you know, the number of houses that we have just on the starting map, if it indeed is populated, is pretty lame, so it's nice to see that that's changed. Over here, we have got a oil fuel loading and unloading for vehicles, so no longer do you have to get your vehicles to come, or you have to get your road vehicles to come into the train depot, because you used to have to do that previously. You used to have to get them to drive up and park up and fuel up here, which you could do, but now there is a bespoke road-based loading slash unloading station, which is pretty darned cool indeed. Also, the train diesel station, which I have put here just as a reminder to myself to talk about the algorithm that is used to refuel trains. So I had a pretty significant issue in my series, and I'm sure you probably have had significant issues in your playthroughs too, where trains would just randomly disappear off their route to go and find a diesel station to fuel up, and that I think was why a lot of people decided to use electric rail instead of diesel trains. Either way, that has now been updated, so I believe that trains will now take the diesel stations into account on their route, and they will fill up at the diesel stations on their route, as opposed to going off and seeking another diesel station on another route, which is very, very nice indeed, and really kind of changes up and makes viable, diesel trains, which is pretty darned good indeed. Okay, what else has happened? Well, I tell you what, we're going to have to skip forward to winter to see exactly what the heck is going on with this building over here, but I'll chat about that in just a second. Right, so I'm just going to skip forward. All of the days are going to get skipped. You'll be able to see exactly when winter starts. The temperature at the top of the screen is plummeting. It really, really is. There we go. Oh, look at that, and just towards the end of November, bada bim, bada boom, we have got a winter wonderland in front of us, which is oh so delightful. -8 degrees Celsius, 24th of November, 1980. Look at this. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful environment. Holy cow, that's pretty darn fantastic. Anyway, right, so over here, we've got another brand new building. Now, this is the Technical Services building, and it can be built from, if I'm not mistaken, yes, the roads interface. So, what you do is you plonk down the building. It looks very, very much like a distribution hub. I guess we can build another one just at the back here. And in this building, you can buy a whole bunch of snowplows. That's right, you buy snowplows. It's literally as simple as that. I have no idea if it actually requires power, because none of the snowplows that I've got in the Technical Services building are currently looking like they're that bothered about all of the snow on the roads, but that's fine. I guess that's fine too. These are some modded snowplows, so I'm not entirely sure if they're going to work properly. In fact, maybe I'll see if I can sell a couple of these and get some non-modded snowplows. But either way, there's a good number of in-game snowplows, as well as... Oh, look, it started snowing. Okay, so now I would expect the snowplows to immediately start working. Look at that. Look at that. I suspect that it just... Because I was skipping forward with cheats... it didn't register that snow had actually started falling. Anyway, that's really, really great, and you can actually see all of the snow being pushed off the roads, which is oh so fantastic, isn't it? Look at that. What a brilliant, 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 brilliant thing to see. That's wonderful. Okay, it stopped snowing, which is great. The area of effect can be seen by highlighting one of the snowplows in the Technical Services depot, and you can see the area that they're going to travel to. And, just over time, they're going to clear up all of the roads and make it so that vehicles can drive on them. It's that simple. It's great, it's excellent, and it's just another level. It's just another level that you need to consider when running your city now. Excellent. How are we doing? Are we managing to keep these houses warm? No, not really. So, here's what happens. Here's what happens when residents do not receive the heat that they need. They're heating themselves, causing pollution. So, if I'm to put down a pollution monitor right here, what am I doing? I'm looking for equipment for citizens, pollution monitor. Right. There we go. View pollution. Now, pollution probably will not start to take effect for a good long time, given that there's not that much pollution to consider. But certainly people are gonna get cold, and if they get cold, they can die. People can get sick, and people can die if indeed they are too cold. Because look at that. The temperature in this building, you can see, is around about 0 degrees Celsius, or at least the water in this building is around 0 degrees Celsius, which to me implies that the whole building is pretty darn cold. Now, some buildings, some buildings have got temperature meters in them. And you can actually see what the temperature is in this specific building. So you can actually see that it's -10 in the vehicle production line, which is pretty darn brutal, actually. Pretty darn brutal. Now, can I get some more people over here? I'm just going to import them. That's totally fine. People can still walk on snow, which is pretty darn great. But I just want to get the heating plant all up and running to make sure that everyone can hopefully get heated, or at least some people within the vicinity of the heating plant can get heated. Ah, yes, look at this. Look at this. You can see the pollution that the residents are causing coming out of the buildings. Yeah, it's not going to be a huge amount of pollution, I don't believe, but it's something to consider nonetheless. Okay, can we get this heated up, please? Can we get the water heated up? Right. So, as soon as we bring the small heating plant water temperature up, hopefully that will pump through to the heat pumping station. However, there may well be too much demand just within range of the small heating station, that there's a chance that none of the hot water will be pumped through to my heat exchanger at the very end of the process over here. Yeah, it doesn't look like it, to be honest. Doesn't look like much water is reaching the end, which is a bit of a shame, but it goes to show exactly how much water you'll need, i.e. rather a lot of it. Oh, look at this. Look at this. All of my roads are going to get snowy again. How brilliant is that? Oh, that's brilliant. That is fantastic. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so excellent. Okay, so that's that. I think we've chatted about snow and seasons enough, which is great. Why don't we skip forward to see the next season? And indeed we shall. We'll skip forward all through December. Look at all of this snow. My goodness gracious me. So yeah, it does get rather cold. It is rather chilly in January. Where's the fire? Train diesel station? Okay, I'm not particularly agitated about that. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And there we go. Boom. February. We are back to normal. The temperature is still a little bit chilly, so you're gonna need to keep that in mind. But for the most part, that is not too bad. That is not too bad. We did a fairly good job of keeping people alive. Lol. Just kidding. Almost everybody died. I think most people in the city have moved out. I'm actually surprised there are as many people living in this city as there are. Anyway, so that's the heating system, which is very, very cool indeed. Let's chat about boats next, because holy cow, boats have been just radically improved. I mean, honestly fantastic. There are 8 new ships that are now in the game, and I've taken the liberty of putting out all of the ships that you can currently purchase. This is just the ships in the base game. You can, of course, still get a whole bunch of modded ships. Now, it used to be the case that you could utilize the aggregate harbor. So the aggregate harbor was in the game, right? So the harbor for aggregate unloading and the harbor for aggregate loading were in the game. However, it used to be the case that there was no ship that was modified to carry any aggregate. So you had to get a modded ship in order to transport gravel, stone, coal, iron, or uranium ore, right? That is no longer the case. That is no longer the case because there is now a whole bunch of ships that carry aggregate, and also the game just crashed, which is bound to happen given that this is still in beta, and that will occasionally happen from time to time. I may very well have done something wrong. Might not have been me, but it was probably me in hindsight. Also, loading tips. See that at the bottom? That's brand new as well. Anyway, we're back at boats. We're chatting about boats. Cool. So if we go into the ship dock, something burnt down. Fine, don't care. You can now see that there are 3 pages. Well, 2 pages of unmodified boats, and then I've got a little extra cheeky 3rd page of modified boats here. But look at this. Look at this. So every single boat is new, with the exception of the Frida, the Meteor, and the Pride, and the Volgobald, which is, I believe it's been, yeah, the Volgobald. There we go. That's it. So everything else is new. Let me start a brand new day because I don't want to do this at night because it's just going to be a massive pain in the backside. Activate cheats again. Excellent. New day. Cool. I would very much like, there we go, morning to come around. Brilliant. Okay, so you can now see there's just so many ships. It's fantastic. We've got the river cargo ship, which, as you can imagine, small cargo ship, takes most refined products. We've got the Meteor, which we already talked about, which was in the game before, a passenger boat, a passenger hydrofoil, actually. It looks very, very sleek, very, very cool. The Frida, one of the only boats that was in the game before now. Again, takes a whole bunch of processed stuff. Crucially, can carry cars. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Ore carrier, massive, massive, massive ore carrier. So now, if indeed you want to get a shipping route set up, you could perhaps import, like I've done on this occasion, import a whole bunch of gravel or a whole bunch of resources from the border, the western border, or the Soviet country's border. You can do that now with these two buttons. Just go import resources. You just buy them in at the border. It's pretty darn cool. We've got the Ignatov, which again, processed materials and also cars. It looks like a barge, honestly, and it looks great. It looks fantastic. They're also different. They're also great. They all have got a bunch of character to them. Really, really cool. A hopper ship, a small aggregate boat. We've got a small tanker, which is it's a fantastic thing to see, because previously the only way to transport oil, if you didn't want to install a modded ship, was with the Pride tanker, which took something like 19,000 units of fuel, oil, or bitumen, which is bonkers. But now you can take about 850 tons of fuel, which is about the amount of fuel you could take in a fully loaded train of old. Well, now trains are longer. And then over here, we've got the Container Express, which I have outfitted with a bunch of cars to show you that now, yes, you can actually move cars via boat. You can sell them via boat at the border, which is very, very cool indeed. And let me just have a little look at the Danae class motor ship before we move on here. Yeah, 295 passenger capacity, just a bigger Meteor. It's basically just a ferry, isn't it? It is basically just a ferry. Cool. Anyway, over here we've got the brand new building, which is the harbor for containers and vehicles. Now, it used to be the case that you could not move. You could not move containers. So when I chat about containers, that is the nuclear bits and bobs that are involved in the production of nuclear energy and nuclear waste as well, relatively crucially, and vehicles. So the space for vehicles / containers can, as I say, store vehicles from a vehicle production plant, or it can store nuclear waste and or nuclear fuel and stuff like that. Anything that can be put in a container in the nuclear process can be stored here. And now you can sell them. Now you can actually sell them at the harbor for containers and vehicles. Tell you what, I'm gonna send the boat back to the harbor just to demonstrate what it can do. But you know, it's kind of to be expected. You just need to make sure that it's powered and you're able to ship out a whole bunch of cars via boat. It's literally that simple, and it's brilliant, to be honest. It's absolutely fantastic. So we can see you come into the harbor over here. I mean, look, it's not that interesting to see, but I thought it was at least worth demonstrating. You can see, yep, 2,720 tons is what we can carry on this boat. I believe that the Container Express is the biggest boat that can carry cars, although I may very well be mistaken. Oh, by the way, you thought I was done with boats? No. We've got the motor ship, which is very, very similar, actually, to the Meteor over here. Yeah, so it's got, like, a slightly changed capacity and maybe different speed stats. In fact, I'll probably have a little look over here. The Meteor can do 24 knots, whereas the Moscovich motor ship can do 10 knots. Okay, so a big difference in speed there, but, you know, something to consider. There is a big difference in price, though, you know, 30-40 grand difference. Anyway, so that's that. Then we've got the Sophia class tanker, which is basically 3/4 of the Pride tanker. The Pride carries 19,250 tons of fuel, and the Sophia class carries 14,000 tons of fuel. So, you know, just slightly less. Although, to be honest, when you're moving that amount of oil, tend to not really notice. Then we've got the Volgodon, which is very similar to the Volgobalt, except it is slightly larger. It's about 50% larger. And then in the middle, we've got the Type 587 Loss, which is another tanker, which carries up to 3,000 tons of oil. Very, very cool indeed. Okay, so the boat is almost in the harbor, and indeed we can see that all of look at this, all of the cars are being loaded onto the boat. How cool is that? That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I love it. It's fantastic. Look at this. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. What a fantastic game. This is just fantastic. So we can see that as they're all loaded on, they all shift across, and the brand new row begins. Very, very nice indeed. It's great. It really is cool. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. It's just a lovely little feature. And so that's just going to motor off to the edge of the world and sell all of these vehicles. Not like I really care. It's not really worth very much, but there you go. So that is that. We've also got not a visualization of the shipping routes. However, if we go into list of lines here, you can see that I can highlight the line here, and you can see the. If I click on the route, you can see the route that the ship is going to take, or you can at least see the starting point and the end point. So now we've got the start point, and then the end point is going to be over there. However, where this has changed is if we have a little look at lines on the trains, we can see, yep, all of the lines are now visualized if indeed you click on the route. So you can plan out in advance exactly what your line is, and you can see where your trains are going to actually go. Followed it all the way around. There's even little arrows indicating the direction of travel. So again, this is going to help with signals and whatnot. You can see the points where they'll stop. You can see which station it's going to go to. You can see the whole shebang. And it is pretty darn brilliant, if indeed I do say so myself. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. There is also a warning for if trains decide to collide. Then you will be alerted to trains colliding, which is something to consider. How many flippin' cars can this boat take? Honestly, this is impressive. This is very, very, very impressive. Look at that. Look at the number of vehicles on this boat. That is obscene. That is absolutely brilliant. I love it. That's really, really cool. Man, honestly, boats are back. Boats are back in a major, major way. So, now you've got a whole raft of boats to choose from, and it's just made it a heck of a lot more viable. Oh, look, here comes our brand new delivery of cars. It's pretty cool. All of them are going to be filled up. Bish, bash, bosh. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You can also see, by the way, that there are resources available from this building. So it actually says in the harbor where the resources are available from. That's just something to note as well whilst that is occurring. I think that's most of the changes. I think that's pretty much everything. There's been a couple of minor changes. One of the minor changes which I really, really liked. If we go into follow cam, you can see that is very, very smooth. And if I scroll out now, again, it's smooth as opposed to the juddery old system of zooming in. So loading tips on the load screen, or hint tips on the load screen, like zooming into that train. There's a bunch of little bits and bobs. Small bus stops allow buses to enter from 2 angles now. So this one right here, enter from 2 angles. That's kind of cool. Cars will now drive slower on roads without lights during the night. That's something else that's kind of cool. There's a whole bunch of different bits and bobs that are just small changes, just little tweaks, but will end up making a massive, massive difference. You know that annoying tooltip that you sometimes get around your mouse cursor when you click on something or you hover over something accidentally? Yeah, well that tip now only happens once per game, so you'll never have to deal with the problem of finding your mouse or trying to click on something behind that tooltip ever again. Honestly, this is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant list of changes. I'm super excited to see exactly how the winter mechanics end up playing out. How many heating plants will you need for a mega city? I don't know. But now you're going to need to incorporate heat exchangers into your city building, and I very, very, very much like the idea of doing that. It is great. It is really, really good. This game is only continuing to get better, and I love playing this game, and I'm very much looking forward to returning to this game at some point in the very, very, very near future. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this patch update. What would you like to see in future Workers and Resources Soviet Republic updates? Please do indeed let me know in the comments down below. But for now, and from me, I've been Oba the Potato. Thank you very, very much for watching, comrade. Thanks also to the fantastic Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/Oba the Potato who help make videos like this possible. Also thanks to Comrade Banana Nana and C Senpai for being the two $25 plus tier patrons. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.